Okay, welcome back. So now we come to section 4. We're going to talk about our refined learning and assessment tools. Next, please. So first of all, we're going to align our assessment with the learning and teaching. Next, please. And based on Bloom's taxonomy, we are going to categorize our refined learning objectives into 3 parts: evaluation, application, and understanding. Next, please. So we're going to classify our assessment based on these assessment types. Next, please. So in our first lesson, we're going to have a pre-test, and we will ask some in-class questions to our students, like how was your childhood been like? And students are going to answer this question to warm up and try to share their stories in past tense. Meanwhile, teacher won't evaluate their answers, but scaffolding them. Next, please. And in both lesson 1 and lesson 2, there are 2 Kahoot games, and one is for post-test and the other one is for pre-test. So these are online assessment. They're used for diagnosis and formative assessment. Next, please. So how does it work for students? For example, in lesson 1, in Kahoot game, students will choose the correct verb forms to record their memorize. And some questions, like true or false questions, will test their understanding on common misconceptions. In the process, teacher will explain the answers if they choose the wrong answer. So this can be seen as a formative assessment. Next, please. And in lesson 2, in Kahoot game, students will choose the correct verb form to record their prior knowledge and test whether they have mastered the basic form and structure of the past tense. Moreover, the use of information technology meet the requirements of EDB documents. Next, please. So in lesson 2, there are picture prompts, which serves as the alternative assessment. And how does it work for students? Next, please. So teacher will provide the simulated situation, and students will use the provided verb and complete a whole sentence for each picture. So by doing this, teacher can formally assess students and provide some constructive feedbacks based on their answers. So let's pass on to Cindy.
Thanks, Grace. In the lesson 2, there is also homework about writing handouts, and students will review on the writing text they have done in the lesson 3. So those of the activities can work as a formative assessment and diagnostic assessment. So let's see how does it work for students in each activity. Next page, please. So for the writing handout, the homework, it works as a formative assessment. Students are introduced to the writing text and have the opportunity to apply their current knowledge. And it is also a good chance for students to reflect on their work as they prepare for the next steps. And it also can improve the independent learning of students. Next page, please. And in terms of the lesson 3 pre-text, the students will review on the writing test they have done. So it can work as a diagnostic assessment. Through the peer feedback, self-evaluation, and teacher's guidance, students can find what they can improve in the future. Next page, please. For the lesson 3, students will have a activity to speak with and interview with their classmates, and the teacher will ask students to present what information they have had from their classmates. So those activities can work as formative assessment and summative assessment. Let's see deeply. So for the lesson 3, how does it work for students? So we can see students can actively involved in real-life communication scenarios, which is to prompt authentic language use. And it is also a good opportunity for students to enhance their ability to formulate questions, understand responses. And students can get immediate feedback from their classmates and teacher. Next page, please. So after they have an interview with their classmates, students need to present what they have done. So it is a good chance for students to practice presentations with their classmates. They can receive feedback on content, grammar, and delivery. And students can also know whether they use the past tense correctly and whether they can engage their classmates successfully. Next page, please.
So for the multi-dimensional assessment method, we quoted Barry's quote, which is it can help to ensure that the learning of students with less traditional or commonplace talents and ways of learning is properly acknowledged and credited. And therefore, there are some assessment theories that is related to the learning, teaching, and assessment. And the theory is shown as well. For the assessment for learning, we focus on students' learning progress and the alignment between learning and the ILOS. For example, we provide pre-test speaking practice, peer assessment, and Kahoot for students. And for the assessment of learning, we try to focus on students' overall attainment of the previous lessons. Therefore, we provided them with picture prompts, writing handout, and teacher's assessment. And for assessment as learning, we focus on students' own evaluation of their learning progress and performance, and therefore we provide some self-evaluation activity for them. And for the formative and summative assessment, we have different mode of assessment and their functions and their introduction as shown. For Kahoot, it functions as a diagnostics assessment, as it can like to monitor the prior knowledge and students' learning difficulties, which can to monitor their learning process as well. For the writing handout, it can support students' learning. A student has to complete the writing task so as to analyze and evaluate the newly learned language of past tense, which can considered as a consolidation stage. And for the speaking interview, it also supports students' learning as they have to ask questions and write down classmates' responses as well. For the summative assessment, for the presentation, students have to present their collected responses using past tense, which can also be considered as a consolidation stage. And for the assessment, there is peer, self, and also teacher assessment. It can evaluate students themselves to recognize their own learning progress and also achievement, and also they can gain feedbacks from teachers and peers for improvements.
So now I'm going to talk about the descriptive performance indicators that are used in the refined lesson plan. And what are the descriptive performance indicators? They are for the teachers to provide descriptive assessment on students' performance, and also they are for the students to understand what was expected of them during the different assessment and the lesson. And the purpose of this descriptive performance indicator is to align the assessment to teaching and learning, which is principle 1, to make marking criteria possible, which is principle 8, and to provide feedback, which is principle 9. And what are descriptive performance indicators? They are used, they are when the teachers use clearly stated words to inform students about the different assessment criteria, what grades can be expected from the students, and how the grades correspond to the students' performance, which I'm going to show an example of. And here is an example of the different assessment criteria that the teacher can give to the students. And this is what grades can the students expect, which we can see there are 4 of. And next, please. And and this is how the grades correspond to the student's performance, which we can see we use this words like consistently and accurately and also clearly to indicate good performance. And we use words like frequently makes errors and also shows significant difficulty to show students that need significant improvement during the assessment.
So for the assessment rubrics and criteria, they are to tool the outline performance levels for assessments and help teachers to provide targeted feedback. And we also wanted to align with the principle 1, ensure assessments alignment with learning objectives, and principle 8, to make expectations clear to the students. Next. So for holistic rubrics, it provides overall performance score. And in our plan, one of the examples is the Kahoots, because it generates an cumulative score based on speed and accuracy and assess general understanding of the topics without breaking down the components. Next. So for the analytic rubrics, it provides breakdown on tasks with specific criteria. And one of the examples is the analytic rubrics that we have shown previously, which is for the speaking practice, and it is to assess students' performance levels in the speaking assessments and to give them a clearer picture of why they got their results. So generally, the loop of our design for the assessment rubrics is to define learning objectives and identify assessment criteria first, and then we will assess performance levels and write descriptors, and so as to finalize the rubrics in our plan.
So for the 4.2.1, we want to focus on the formative assessment. The first purpose for formative assessment is to cater for learning's diversity. So we can see from the EDB's document guiding principle for assessments, we want to enrich the question types and adjust the flexibility of the teaching content, and we want to make sure the students are involved and finish the test individually. So we designed our activities by using warm-up questions and monitoring the learning process and the diagnosis of students' difficulties. We also want to involve students in their own learning through online gamification test. So the second purpose for formative assessment is that we want students to learn from recognition to finally utilizing the simple past tense in context. So you can see those activities we have designed. We want to give students assessment step by step. So finally, students can gradually learn how to use simple past tense in realistic scenario by themselves. Next page, please.
So now we are going to talk about some learning feedbacks for the assessments. So for the traffic lights used before the Kahoot pretest in lesson 2, we can see that this learning feedback is very quick because it only spends around 1 to 2 minutes to assess every student. And it also provides some instant feedback for the teachers because the student can evaluate themselves through their self-proclaimed assessment. And it is very easy for the students to understand the assessment because they know how to evaluate themselves through the easy instructions, and the color code of the different traffic lights can also help them to do the assessment.
Okay, so for the writing handout, it is to provide peer evaluation feedback. It is very timely and goal-referenced, and the students can provide actionable, doable suggestions for their peers. And of course, it also aligns with the criterion of encouraging peer evaluation among students.
So for the reinforcement of the assessment for learning culture, we try to simplify the aims of lessons to include attitudes, generic skills, language skills, and knowledge in the refined learning objectives. And we try to provide more scaffolding for students and also insert different strategies and modes of assessments. And we also try to focus on the point of provide feedback for students. Therefore, we try to focus on learning and to recognize student efforts and boost their confidence in learning. And therefore, we adopt the multidimensional assessment methods, which can guarantee students can get feedbacks from different perspectives. And we also, for the assessment too, we try to use diversification by adding summative, formative, and also different kinds of assessment, and to provide different kinds of feedback to monitor their learning progress. And for self-evaluation, they can reflect on their learning outcomes. And for peer, they can learn from others' work. And teachers can also provide useful feedback to assist students' learning. And for the review on curriculum planning, we try to refine it and select and organize the lessons to ensure that the curriculum is relevant and applicable to students' lives. And we also try to link different cultural relevance and authentic contents that can happen in students' daily life. And we try to use diverse assessment to track and examine students' learning progress and provide different scaffolding with difficulty for the planning mode. And also for the content, we try to concentrate on the subject matter on regular past tense, and we design lessons based on students' learning needs. And for the developing mode, we try to adopt diverse assessment modes such as the below that are included in our lessons.
So thank you, Toby. Next slide, please. So for the assessment methods and the learning outcomes, first of all, for the task design of the original assessment, we lack of the detailed explanation, insufficient real-world application, and the lack of coherence with the previous lessons. And for now, we have clear and in-depth teacher's guidance. We have authentic teaching materials in use. And we also scaffold every lesson with the previous content. For the assessment methods, we do the simplified assessment, and we do not cater for the needs of students, and we do not do scaffold, and then teachers do not provide enough feedback for to support students. And also for the diversified assessment methods, right now we have a lot and to evaluate students' performance, and there are a lot of clear rubrics and data for teachers to identify students' strengths and weaknesses, so as to let the students to understand their learning journey more deeply. And for the assessment from different parties, we don't have any self-evaluation. We only have the peer evaluation. Now we have the self-evaluation for the students to gain understanding on what they have learned. Next slide, please. And for the overall reflection, next slide, please. And for the teaching objectives, first of all, we failed it because we do not provide explicit link to the real-world application. We do not meet the school curriculum objectives, and we lack of the coherence between lessons. And right now, we have authentic teaching objectives, and we meet EDB and school curriculum objectives. Next slide, please. For the lesson design, so first of all, we don't have clear instructions to students, and there is low students participation. We cannot cater students' learning needs. And right now, we have clear instructions to students. We enhance students' participation and cater for different students' learning styles. Next slide, please. So for the assessment methods, we don't have detailed rubrics, so teacher cannot follow the detailed rubrics to evaluate students' learning performance. And right now, we have detailed rubrics with clear criteria and self-peer evaluation, so students and teacher can both evaluate students' strengths and weaknesses effectively. Next slide, please. And for the 10 assessment principles, first of all, we only match the 6th one, but right now, for the refined version, we match basically all of them except for the 4th one. Next slide, please. And here comes the conclusion. So first of all, for the reinforcement of multi-dimensional assessment and using assessment to complement teaching and learning, we provide a diversified mode of assessment. First of all, for the level 1 is the diagnostic assessment and online assessment. And also for the level 2, we have alternative, constructive, responsive, and authentic assessment, which is our main activity. And for the last one, level 3 is the summative assessment to evaluate the students' performance as a final exhibition to show their knowledge consolidation. We also help students to develop their English language ability and the non-generic skills. It involves different stakeholders in assessment for the students' achievements in wider recognition in terms of self, peer, and teachers' assessment and feedback qualitatively and quantitatively. We also provide assessment as AOL, AFL, and AAL. Next slide, please. And for the apply of scaffolding theory, we do the task refine and redesign by matching students' level, ability, and characteristics. And for the primary step, we record students' previous knowledge and provide a wide range of input by the following tools. We also know that the difficulty level rises gradually with scaffolding provided with the process so as to cater for students' diversity. We also develop students as active learners with autonomy given multi-dimensional assessment and different methodologies. Next slide, please. Here's our references.